Welcome to the MS&Me Radio Network. The broadcast shows are for informational and entertainment purposes only. They are not designed to provide listeners with specific personal, medical, or counseling advice. Individuals with a medical issue should always consult their healthcare provider. MS&Me is not responsible for content of individual shows. The views expressed by show hosts or their guests are their own. Enjoy the show.
Hey everybody, this is Roxy Ayers, and this show is She Rox It. And I spend a lot of time throwing some positive angles on most things and just trying to give people a message of what we can do versus what we can't do. But let's be real. In a real world situation where things are very realistic, from day in to day out, you're thinking about your pills, you're thinking about what you're going to wear, and if you were able to get it on yourself, or you're going to have help, or do you have to call somebody, and then also you need transportation, but then you need maybe somebody who can drive you, but if that's so, then maybe it's not a family member, you have to use Accessoride, and then by the time it's all said and done, you're a little exhausted, or a lot exhausted. So, first and foremost, I want everyone to give themselves permission to just feel like crap and own it. Because we can put a smile on most things. We can shed light on the positive angles and the things that we can do in the moments that are our triumphs and what we do in spite of this crazy disease. Or we can choose one day that that's not what we want to do. We decide that we want to spend more time telling the truth. I have had more uncomfortable, embarrassing moments in my MS existence than I could even probably write down in a book. It would have been it would be chapter after chapter of madness. But this is what it boils down to. We never know if our legs are going to be awesome and do what they're supposed to do, or our bladder, or our eyes, or depending on how your diagnosis works, that can turn your life upside down in just a few seconds. And I have to be honest with you guys. Lately, I have been on a downward spiral, a downward spiral with all my crazy. And it's so funny, me and my mother-in-law joke every morning if one of us has a little more of a tissy or an attitude, like, you forget to take your crazy pill. And we say that because we do, in fact, take our own versions of crazy pills. And it's not that we're making a joke of it. It's that we're making light in a world where our chaos can be very detrimental to our health, especially if you're an MSer. If your mind isn't right and your heart's not right, it takes your life from you. It takes the life from your eyes. And then it also messes with relationships that probably could have been very, very productive relationships. It might be your husband, or it might be a best friend, or it might be even your older children. These are all relationships that we have to take into consideration every single day, different than most. Because this disease, this MS monster, is a life robber, a slow burn of a disease, meaning it takes a minute where you have an issue with your disease, and then you take your prednisone and you bounce back from it, and maybe you don't have a reoccurrence of that specific symptom or exacerbation. And then you get well and you feel better, bright and shiny, and then another one pops up. Maybe not right away, but fairly soon. More soon than you'd want it to. So, and there are some people that have no symptoms for years and years. But I was speaking to a lady the other day, and she said she had 10 to 14 years of no MS issues, with the exception of a little bit of the fatigue, which is bad enough as it is. But then it was more of it blew her mind, because for me, I had craziness from the beginning, from the get-go. So it wasn't like I, am surprised. I was never surprised when something new popped up. I was disheartened and I was mad and irritated, and I look at God and say, "Hey dude, this ain't cool. I'm already struggling. Why are you going to add this extra stuff?" But like I've said in the past, me and God have a real personal relationship, however retrospective. Meaning there are times where something's happening to you and you're looking at it and trying to figure out exactly what's going on through the whole thing, and you're like, "Holy cow, why?" And then you give it a couple months and stuff makes sense. And maybe it won't be in the disease department, but maybe it'll be someone in a relationship you're with that it would be an amazing tool to communicate, or to give them an example of your condition, to remind them, because a lot of times we have family members who they don't necessarily consider you sick, because maybe you don't look sick, or maybe they see you with love goggles and they're never giving you the benefit of the doubt when you're saying you're exhausted, or saying that your body is not right, and say, "Oh, you know what? You're a trooper. You got this, girl. You got this. You take it on." But there are sometimes some situations where you decide, "No, I don't have this. And I need people to be behind me when I'm not feeling good, not telling me I need to feel better, not telling me I need to feel worse, but to really listen and take my feelings into consideration." And yes, it's easier said than done if you don't have the tools to listen. You know, I've had people in my life that they don't ever put their listening ears on so much. They're in the fix it mode. This is what you need to do. This is what will help you. This is how this is great, blah, blah, blah. So you need to do it. And this is why this person's good with their disease. And then you remind them, this is not their disease. This is not this other person's disease. This is mine. And I don't want to take ownership of it like it's something really amazing, like a brand new pair of shoes or something. And you know what? Since I'm thinking about that, brand new pair of shoes, I wish I could walk, but I really wish I could walk with the shoes with roller skates in them. That, my friend, would be amazing. So, anyways, I was talking to this lady, and she was very upset because, like I said, she had years and years with nothing. And then all of a sudden, as she got older, her body started making a different connection, a different symptom pattern. And she went from a cane to a walker to a motorized chair. And the motorized chairs are good, guys, but if you can avoid it, I recommend it. Because when you get in those son of a guns, it's really hard to get out of them. But if you need it, and it is the tool that will make you successful so you can go everywhere you want to go. And you know what? There's this lady, Ruth, that I did a video on or about, and she had MS, and I remember when she started using this chair, and I was like, "What are you doing?" Because she used a walker when I first met her, and she was starting to have more issues with her balance. And I said, "Well, why don't you stick with the walker, and that way your body's moving?" And she says, "No, I'm done. I've done all I can do in that department. But the coolest thing is I get to wear my cool ass kicks." And I was like, "Your shoes, your tennis shoes?" She's like, "No, my high heels. And I can totally make it work with my outfit, and they can be high as heck because I am in this chair and I can go anywhere I want." She was already disabled at this point, and she was getting benefits, so she didn't have to worry about going to work, thank God, because we know that's fatigue and all by itself. But anyways, that happened. And it gave me a moment where I started thinking about things a little differently, because everybody has a different journey. Everybody has a different moment where they feel like they have made an achievement. And not to take away from any one person's triumph. This lady's triumph was she could wear her 4-inch heels with her cute little uh, pencil skirt, and I mean she had some extra cleavage too, which it was a little awkward because she lived in the building I worked at, and I had to remind her that there were, rules. But overall, she got to be as bright and shiny as she wanted to be. So I'm talking to this lady, the one I was talking about before, about where her disease is at and how it has graduated over the years, and how she had a lot of really good years where she could do everything. And she is struggling on a different level. I thank God every day that I have had an insane slow burn of a disease. Meaning, yes, it was something I'd have to triumph or I had to beat every time, but I was resilient because I dealt with it and I felt this, and it was something that had happened. And it's but this poor lady had the whole world at her fingertips. And then it all fell apart. A little too close together, a little too close for comfort. And what I will say about this wonderful woman is she's a tough bird. She don't take no crap. But she said that she used to be a very scared, quiet person. And maybe the MS gave her a voice she didn't know she had. Because really, when you have to start yelling, me, I want to talk about what's going on with me, you're able to talk a little louder. You're able to yell a little louder. I also told her a story because she mentioned this. I said, would you believe, and you might not believe this if you know me or if you've talked to me for a while, as a young girl, I would say just from the beginning, I didn't talk to anybody. I would cry the first day of school all the way up to 7th grade. And I was petrified and I was worried about life, and I couldn't use my words because I was so afraid of so many things. And it was sad and it was exhausting even as a child. And it was so funny because I wasn't an extrovert. But I had a moment where, as an older person, I look back at my life, and there was a time where I thought, and it's how your personality finds its way through anyway. If you can't talk like a lot of people, or you're not an extrovert, your brain is cooking on it way earlier than you think you are. So anyways, I was, as a 9-year-old kid, maybe 8, I was on the playground at school, and I'd watched a lot of Disney movies that had people just break into song, and I really loved them. I mean, I watched way too many, and then you have Little Mermaid, and then you had all the other cartoons that were musical, and they're just walking like normal, and then all of a sudden it's a musical thing, and you're singing a song. And as a child, I thought that was something you could do, and nobody could hear you. Yeah. So I would break into song on the playground and just go for it and have my arms up and everything and just feeling my feelings all Disney Channel style. And it was crazy because I never thought about that until recently, within the last couple of years. It hit me like a ton of bricks. I was like, I was that crazy girl at school. I was the one that didn't talk ever, but would sing to herself on the playground. But that was just my personality, just planted, the seed planted, and it was just waiting to burst through the soil. And I'm not saying I'm a bright, shiny rose, but I am definitely a big, bright daisy. And I wouldn't have seen it. I wouldn't have appreciated it if I didn't have those times where I was worried about the world and worried about my life. And then the MS thing was a similar trip. Now, I've always had this very deprecating kind of mental picture of myself, or how people talk to me. Somebody could come up to me and say, "Oh, it'll be fine. You're going to do all right, and just pick up pull up your big girl pants, and you're going to be just great." I need a deprecating comment like, "You know what, girl, you better get over it and make it happen, because we don't do this in this family. We don't hang lip." So this is my parents or my sister or anybody that's raised in the same bubble as me. So it was a thing where I had an opportunity to be a child and to be out of the box and not even know it. But now I have this opportunity kind of similar. And so I did spend time talking to the First Lady. I was explaining to her about Ruth and about how I was as a child, just trying to make her understand that she wasn't alone, and how I could not imagine how horrible that would feel to be well for so many years with this MS monster, and then everything fall apart all at once. So honestly, I applaud every person in every layer of MS ever. But I will take a slow burn MS any day. Because I would hate to be a person who didn't think to do anything about the MS because their body wasn't signaling them. And she often says, I wish I would have just started taking medicine. But I thought I was beating it. I thought I had it figured out. So I tell her, I said, "Listen, darling." And I tell her the story about the little girl singing by herself because she was afraid of everything and this and that. And I talked to her about Ruth, and I talked to her about all these different layers of growth or moments of being stifled with this disease. And nobody gets to say how your thing goes. And you have some people who their disease affects their self-esteem or their depression stuff or their self-worth, and they spend a lot of time crying, and we know that kills us, guys, faster than most things. I tell everyone, I say, there are all these different parts and pieces to the way this disease works, but one thing I will say 100%, the things that kill us more than anything, maybe you get hurt or you have issues or your MS is really hardcore, but it's the failure to thrive part. It's the part that says you don't want to keep going. So this is what I tell this wonderful lady, and I say, you show up to this day program a few times a week. Do you know why? She says, "Why? What?" And she looks at me with a look on her face like Roxanne's going to try to shoot rainbows up my butt. I just said, you show up here because you have a desire to live. And I admire you. I think that you are an amazing energy for this program." And she kind of is. She's kind of got a matriarch kind of thing going on. There's different layers of people that go to this program I participate in. And you have some that handle a different level of the support for the community, and then you have a little more ornery ones. It just depends, or veterans that were there since the beginning, and you don't want to argue with those folks. And this lady fits somewhere in between there. But like I said, she didn't have a voice. She didn't have the voice as a younger person, as a young lady. But I could make a venture and say that she found more of herself in this condition than most people do. where some people may lose themselves in it. So anyways, I think we're all lucky if we have the ability to see the things that we need to do and shed light on the things that we've done with our heads held high. And I'm not saying be braggy like, oh, I made it to the piss around time, so I'm better than you. I'm saying, you know what? This thing doesn't have me. I'm running it. And it's easier said than done. And I'm not going to be one of these people that fill you through full of freaking craziness and because I think it's important to be a positive note, but I think it's also important to shed light on the trials and tribulations and then feeling good about stuff after, even though it doesn't feel good in your body or in your heart sometimes. Being able to get up and start a new day and appreciate God or the Creator for the air in your lungs. It's a hard thing every day. I've been struggling for days and days. And the funniest thing is the craziest. I'm laughing and I'm kind of crying. And the funniest thing is that I didn't realize what I needed was to go visit these people at this center and be a part of that tiny community. And it's an MS center in Colorado. I've done some shows on it. But basically it's for people with MS and other acquired brain injuries. And it's a community of people that want to live. Because they could get the same benefits at home. Get the same support at home with the exception of your community and your physical activities and stuff like that. And if you're curious, I do have there is a YouTube on my YouTube channel, Rox It. It has a little video talking about how amazing the program is and how amazing everything that you can do, like adaptive skiing and things like that. And it's my point is this. If we can keep our heads held high, even if our exhaustion makes us snooze half of the time, like our head falls down or we wake up in a snore kind of thing, but we have a chance. We have a chance to live better, live stronger. And I'm not saying you're going to be cured. I'm not saying that you're going to do amazing at everything. You're not going to be a scholar, which you could. I'm saying all those things could happen. But what I'm saying is you have an opportunity today. I have an opportunity today because I visited these amazing people the other day and I hadn't been going. And I see how amazing they are. They decide to be there. They decide to live. This woman decides to live. Even though she's a little, frustrated and irritated about her condition, she cares enough about herself and her family to get up and go there. Or have, and maybe you don't have this program, but a program like it, or something that can kind of parallel it. But if you can embrace these things, whatever it is, maybe it's a painting class, maybe it's some kind of something that make you, have a better look at the picture. And maybe you're painting all different kinds of colors because it's your picture. I think give yourself the benefit of the doubt. Take the support that you have. And maybe they come off a little crazy or whatever, but it usually means they just don't understand, and then it's your job or your responsibility to inform them. And do it nice, do it calm, and don't don't be accusatory, but be a bright, shiny light in a world where someone like us don't look at they don't look at us like we're going to be bright and shiny, and that's the best. I love talking to somebody who really kind of has their crap together, and they can walk, and they can run, and they can work, and all this stuff, and they have a really crummy day, and they're feeling it, and they're feeling awful, and it's whatever, and I'm not saying I say things like, well, this is what I deal with, but all I do is I encourage them. I encourage them, and I let them know how amazing they are and what they're doing great and how awesome it is that they do what they do and their kids see it and they think they're wonderful. And what that does is later on, maybe not right away, they're going to look back and they're going to say, that lady, who I spent a lot of time feeling sorry for, was being a support to me. And that's what I can do. I can't do the things I used to do. I can't run. I can't see well. I mean, my eyes move like crazy, like figure eights. It's called rotary nystagmus, and it's jazzy in a really creepy way, but I'm used to it, thank God. But people look at me and they go, oh my goodness, this poor lady. I feel so bad. Don't feel bad for me. I have perfect perspective. Took me some years and some time, but I do. I'm able to see things. And granted, the last couple of months, I have not had it because I had a loss in the family and I had all these kind of chaotic things happening and life just wasn't working out. And it took me a little while to grab myself out of this rut and look up and say, you know what? No, I'm not doing this anymore. So I started going to the program and doing the physical activities, engaging with people that have MS, maybe newly or they've had it a really long time, and they all have stories. They all have these little additions that are amazing. If you can glean that information and use it for your wellness, you should. It's always an opportunity to grow. And I'm not always that way all the time, but none of us are. We do the best we can with what we've got. But just be kind to the people that love you and bless you, and make sure that you're spending time blessing them in the ways that you can, like I do. I kind of talk people's faces off or listen like crazy, but